So starting with today's lecture. So this is about technique and biomechanical reflections. So what is all about? This is the topic which will cover all your concepts, how they are related to biomechanics. Means whatever you have learned till now in analysis part, uh, in different motions, how they are related. So how they are related to technique, what is technique, what is your biomechanical, what is style, what is the difference between these two, and how they are biomechanically related. So all these things you are going to uh, learn in this lecture. And starting with this, so let's start. Now, athlete movement and biomechanics, how they are related. So, movement, you all know what is that? It is a motion. You can do any movement you take, example, running, jumping, throwing a ball. So, all these are movements, and they have to be proper according to biomechanics if you want to achieve maximum performance and least injury. So, what is proper movement? So proper movement is a movement which is biomechanically correct. So what is biomechanically correct? Biomechanically correct means you are using proper amount of energy to do that task. Your angular rotation, your linear displacement, your angles, your muscle firing, each should be proper, coordinated according to physical principles which we follow in biomechanics, like principles of physics, kinetics, kinematics. If you are doing all in this particular frame theoretically correct or close to that, then that movement is known as proper biomechanical movement. So the proper movement during training and completion for sports can affect both performance and health. So if you're doing those movements biomechanically in a biomechanical correct way, then you will definitely enhance your performance and definitely prevent you from the injury. So this is the idea. So in biomechanics, what we use to say that yes, this movement is proper, so that we can say by analyzing that movement. And for analysis, you all know what tools we use. We use physics, mechanics, kinematics, kinetics. All these principles are somehow related in different instrumentation or different techniques which we use, and then we definitely on the basis of those results we can say definitely say that movement is biomechanically correct or not. If it is biomechanically correct, then it is definitely going to enhance your performance and definitely will prevent you from the injury. Now proper mechanics are critical to athletes ability to optimize performance. Why? Because right from the training you start movements, because in training what you are doing biomechanical movements, you are doing bench press, you are doing strength training. In each and every kind of training biomechanics is involved and you are doing repetition on that. So if you repeat a particular workout with biomechanical correct way, then you are training your brain, training yourself towards a correct biomechanical posture and biomechanical movement. So that will definitely enhance your performance, enhance your uh, performance in the game and prevent you from the injury. On the other hand, if you are doing workouts without biomechanical planning, without biomechanical consulting, doing in a wrong way, which is not allowed in the physics or mechanical principles, then despite your efforts, you are wasting your time, because you will hurt you will get injury definitely if you are not doing it in the correct way, and definitely that will hamper your performance too. So that is the idea, that you should right from the training start with your biomechanics and develop a properly corrected biomechanical technique. So this is the idea. So movement evaluation tools, this is just a summary, you all know what we do. So the simplest one is your eye. You can, if you are trained enough with your experience, by your eye you can get an idea about yes, something is wrong or he's doing perfectly right or not. So by an eye you can have some decisions, but to do proper analysis you have to record that movement, slow it with high speed cameras, do the slow-mo, and then analyze properly with all angles and applying our principles, and use specialized instrument like force plate for the kinetic data. And all these things will help you to conclude yes, the movement is properly, the biomechanics is proper or not. So this is the idea. And latest one is 3 dimension capture, which can even tell you about the predicted movements. Yeah, that will give you prediction or simulations. Yes, if you do this kind of movement, that will help you principally in that way. Means it will tell you the predictions uh, in the 3D motion capture. So all these tools are based on biomechanical principles, and that will let you know to decide the movement is biomechanically correct or not. So this is the relation between athlete movement and biomechanics. Hope this slide is clear. Now, in the next slide, I will let you know the difference between a athlete style and technique. So what is the difference between these? So style is what? Style, you know by word that it is a personal statement. So in the mechanics also we have some personal statement, the personal way to do the things. Because you should always keep in mind that every individual has his or her own biomechanics. Everybody is different because everybody has different body segments, different strengths, different weaknesses, different symmetries, different asymmetries. So on the basis of all these things, the style is the way you perform a particular technique. So biomechanical style is always different for different persons. It cannot be generalized. If you learn some technique, you learn some way to do a movement, but you will do it in your own way because you have different body segments. So this is called biomechanical style. So what is a technique then? So technique is in sport is general movement pattern that is biomechanically correct, and everybody follows that and tries to get as close as possible to that biomechanically generalized movement pattern so that he could be effective in his movement. So what is technique? Technique is a generalized movement pattern. It is it is followed by multiple athletes so that they become biomechanically correct, and the ultimate result is you will get enhancement in your performance and you will prevent injury. So this is the main difference between style and technique. So technique is a generalized pattern which have been tested in many athletes, and it is biomechanically correct, and all athletes try to follow that so that they could increase their performance and decrease their chances of injury. So this is biomechanical technique, and style is the way you perform that is always different among all individuals because you have different body segments, different sizes, different strengths, different patterns. So this is the main difference between biomechanical style and biomechanical technique. So you should always follow proper biomechanical technique and try to adapt to those principles so that you become biomechanically correct in a movement so that you can enhance your performance and decrease chances of injury. Okay, so hope this is clear. So what is the difference between style and technique? Style is individual, it is different for everybody, but the technique is common part, it is a common pattern. Now I'll discuss some techniques with you which are very common to see and common mistakes people make. I'll take 3 or 4 examples in different games so that will make the concept clear. So this is I'll talk about now running technique and mistakes. What is biomechanically correct way and what people do usually, so that can lead to injuries. So first one is always keep your feet aimed in the direction you are running. Now focus on the photograph on the left side. He is doing the knee rotation and outward movement of his right foot. So that kind of movement it is seen in many people who do when they are running. So that will create a stress on the knee, and that could lead to knee injury later on, definitely, if he follows this kind of movement. So if your feet splay, it can create knee pain because you are torquing means you are applying force, rotatory force on your knee. That will lead to stress on it because whenever you rotate your knee during running like this way, that will act as a brake to your running pattern, and that will definitely lead to unnecessary stress on your knee, because in every foot strike you are going to do that if you have this kind of habit. So always run with your feet pointed in the direction you are headed. Okay, so this is a correct, biomechanically correct way to run on the right side, and left one is not biomechanically correct, and that can lead to knee injury. So this is one of the example. This is a mistake which many runners do by habit or somehow. But if you keep in mind that you have to follow a straight line and you have to keep it your feet straight in that direction, then this habit can be avoided and you will be doing biomechanically correct way. So this is one example. Now coming to second, same running, there is a very common mistake people make. They usually overstride their run. So what is overstriding? In order to decrease timing, usually runners widen their stride. So when you widen your stride, what will happen? You will strike the floor with your heel. So that is a very big mistake. Don't overstride and avoid heel strike always. When you overstride, you are putting again brakes to your running motion, and that will again give a lot of impact to your knees, and as a result you will get knee problems, because knees are not designed to absorb shocks. Always keep in this mind. So always avoid heel striking. And this in the photograph, on the upper photograph, you can see he is widening his stride in order to decrease that timing. So he is striking heel. He is striking the floor with the heel. So that could create a lot of problems on the knee in the future. So you should avoid that. So this is biomechanic correct technique which I am telling you, and these are the mistakes people make. Okay. Third mistake very common is lifting of your knees during run. Never do that. This is meant for sprinters only. Sprinters usually run for a very short distances. Okay, when you are running for a longer distance, don't follow sprinter technique. This is a sprinter technique which is usually followed so that they can accelerate faster or something like that, but never follow in a normal run. If you do that, again you are stressing your knees. So always, to avoid that, always keep in your mind that you have to keep your knees down and heels up so that you avoid this mistake. So these are some of the biomechanically corrections which you should do in running to make your running movement biomechanically correct. So this is the example. This was possible only when you record. By eye you can get a idea, yes, that person is moving something, doing something wrong, but to pinpoint actually you need video recording, and that too with high speed camera, so that you can slow it down and see what he's doing wrong. So these are all the examples of video analysis, and technically it is called as gait. This is one part of a gait analysis. Okay, so avoid heel striking and don't lift your knees during run. Now there is also something like shoes, specialized shoes for running. So people try to choose softer shoes, cushioned shoes, so that they feel comfortable, but this is not the case always. It is always better to fix a running form problem. It is always, you should correct your biomechanics, not shoes, because if you are running in these kind of mistakes you are doing, and you are choosing a very expensive shoe which is very cushioned and very comfortable, so that is going to increase your problem. So don't rely on these cushioned shoes just for the sake of comfort and doing wrong biomechanical forms. That will definitely hurt you in future. And go for neutral shoes and try to follow proper form, proper techniques. So that is the idea. Now cycling. In cycling also there is an example of a proper technique. In the next slide you will learn. So in the cycling, the knee and foot should travel in vertical path. This is the correct technique. If it is going here and there, rotation is going, you are doing rotation, so that will again stress your knees. So this is the proper technique. When cycling, the knee and foot should travel in vertical path, and it should look like overlapping one another when you view from the front. So this is the idea. It should be exactly vertical. Now same thing in the swimming. In swimming, the proper techniques is that athletes should move through the water more easily by producing less drag by going straight. When you follow a proper mechanic going straight, and in that way you can biomechanically reduce the drag on you. Drag, what is viscosity of the water which is going on when you are swimming. So that will also reduce strain on your shoulder joint. So in this way you have to follow biomechanically correct forms, generalized movement patterns which are biomechanically correct. When you follow them, you try to be as close as possible, try to be close as possible, which you can do. That will definitely enhance your performance and prevent you from the injury. So this is the idea. So these are biomechanical correct techniques. You should always follow them. Now, we'll coming to analysis. How we analyze. So this is again the revision of your concepts which you have already learned. So how can we analyze? We can analyze motion by viewing performance of the proper form and mechanics within every sport. So first one again is viewing, vision. The vision analysis, the imaging analysis is the foremost and the frontmost thing which you do in biomechanics. You just see the motion and then try to analyze by applying biomechanical principles. So by studying athletes biomechanics, we can suggest drills, proper exercises if there is some problem in the motion. So if we find any, just say I have just told you some mistakes, so that mistakes we can pinpoint by recording a video or by viewing that athlete, and then we can suggest certain drills or workouts which will definitely going to improve his wrong habits, and then he will eventually become more biomechanically correct. So that will enhance his performance and will reduce his injury chances. So recording video is the best way. So video analysis can be used to slow the body movement, because if you are using high speed camera you can slow it down and then you can actually pinpoint what is going wrong, and in this way we can reinforce effective movement patterns. So effective movement patterns, which I have told you, that which are generalized correct biomechanically correct movement patterns, we try to follow those, and these are specific for different sports that I have already discussed with you, 2 or 3 sports. So we allow athletes to follow that by doing proper workouts. And with a video analysis, there are some softwares available, which some are free, some are paid. So these softwares help you to measure angles, to measure different kinematics, and kinematics are only involved when you are using force plate. Otherwise kinematic data can be easily achieved by video analysis. So what are the free software available which are used widely? These are Canova, V1 Home, Tracker, Fismo. These are freely available, and some more technical information is provided by Dartfish software, that is paid. So it is eventually when you pay you get something more out of it, but basically these Canova is very popular free software, which if you have video cameras and use this free softwares, and you can do many things, and you can get to know kinematic data, you can get to know angles, so that will help you to eventually evaluate how biomechanically correct you are. Okay, and the more sophisticated inventor like force plate, if you add up that data to that, that will definitely enhance your information. And this kind of integration is always allowed by paid softwares. All features are not enabled in the free software. So if you want to integrate force platform data, kinetic studies also, then you have to pay for that software, so that you can integrate both information and get full picture of biomechanics of a particular motion. Okay, so this is it. So next slide will tell you how it eventually helps that athlete to enhance performance. So after doing movement analysis, how they can help you? So movement analysis can help in designing the types of sports specific training workouts, such as resistance training, which can ultimately increase your performance. So when you have viewed that particular motion by these techniques, you have come to some points that these are the mistakes athlete is doing. Then you can, after analysis, plan with the help with the interaction with coach, design certain workouts that will pinpoint the areas which have problem. Okay, so proper analysis helps to evaluate the actual muscle groups. You will get to know which muscle group is weak, which muscle group is required to fire, which muscle group is required to train, so that athlete becomes biomechanically correct in particular motion. So that you can pinpoint by using this analysis, and this analysis will help you to evaluate proper specific muscle group that you want to work for on the glutes, you want to work on quads. So depending upon the biomechanics or biomechanical problem, you can pinpoint that and accordingly plan workouts. Secondly, you can also pinpoint which kind of contractions are happening, concentric, eccentric, isometric, or combination of these is happening during particular muscle action. Then velocity, well, kinematic data, you can get velocity of contraction, movement, range of motion you can get, joint angles you can get. So all these comprehensive data will help you to pinpoint the problem, and also you can plan the remedy accordingly, okay, by designing a particular protocol, particular workout for a particular athlete. So all of these factors help to prescribe proper training and exercises meant to improve individuals capability and performance and prevent injury. So in this way, these analysis helps an athlete and a coach as well, okay. And proper interaction is must between a coach and the biomechanist so that he can plan and actually help athlete to enhance performance. If they are not interacting, then there is of no use, because biomechanic analysis will do something, will tell you something, and if coach doesn't listen to that, so he is not going to implement that, so there is no use, okay. Interaction is must. You should interact and cooperate with each other so that you follow biomechanical principles, so that to enhance performance and decrease the chances of injury. Now next slide will tell you what are the criteria for an ideal technique. Ideal means biomechanically correct. What are the criteria which is followed world over? So first one is sport kinematic analysis studies the position, angles, velocities, acceleration of body segments and joints during motion. So these are the criteria which you have to fill. So whatever you have you have to follow these points, then you will reach an ideal technique and biomechanical correctness. So first thing is to get kinematic data, which will give you idea of angles, velocities, acceleration of body segments. Second thing is you have to get the kinetic analysis, means you have to do force platform. What are the reaction forces acting responsible for that particular motion? So when athlete learn a new motor skill or sports skill, whenever you are training an athlete, a progressive modification of movement kinematics happens. What this means, third point means that whenever you try to uh, teach your athlete a new skill which is biomechanically correct, so you start with kinematics, you will record angles, speed, everything. So eventually these things will become different, they will vary when the athlete progresses, and they, for example, if he is taking more time, there will decline in the time, there will be enhancement in the velocity. So that if the desired angle is 180 and at present suppose he is at 160, so eventually he will come closer to that. So these kinematic data will change eventually, and that you have to analyze at proper intervals. So this is the third criteria to impart a ideal technique to an athlete. So first one is take kinematic data, second one is take kinetic data, then teach your athlete a particular skill which you want to focus, and then regularly test that and study kinematic changes. That will happen for sure if athlete is adapting himself towards correct biomechanical way, okay. These parameters will change. Then you have to ask these questions: is the skill correctly reproduced with appropriate speed? That is, you want that velocity, is athlete doing that particular action in that particular velocity, is that angle reached, is all these movements are sequentially coordinated, are the forces applied harmonized with the movement? So all these questions you have to put, and you will get the answers by viewing the motion of the athlete after training. And these are the criteria which eventually give you a ideal technique or biomechanically correct technique in an athlete. So these are the criteria which you should follow. Go for kinematic analysis, go for kinetic analysis, then ask the athlete to follow particular training pattern to focus in the area of concern, and then step by step measure these kinematic data, and you will eventually see, you will get these answers which is given in the fourth point. And when you get all the answers by analysis, so that means you have got ideal technique, biomechanical correct technique in emotion. So this is the criteria. Okay, now in the next slide we'll study about how these biomechanical analyses are classified. So what is the concept of biomechanical training and analysis? So basically this is a summary of what you have learned. So what is the goal of sport biomechanics? The main goal is to provide information to the coaches and athletes on sports skill techniques that will help them to obtain highest level of performance and decrease the chance of injury. So that you all know up till now. So this is the prime aim of biomechanics, right? Now at any level movement analysis, there is a need for interaction between the coach and biomechanics, that I have already discussed with you. If there is no interaction, so you cannot get improvement in performance. So that there is no use of analysis if you are not interacting. So interaction is must to get maximum performance. So at present, now the today's scenario, coaches and athletes want more of analytic biomechanics. What this means, they want direct application. They don't want research or descriptive biomechanics. So that is the thing. So that's why these techniques have evolved, which give you instant results, instant values, so that you can apply on the spot and get results. So that uh, and as far as research is concerned, coaches are not interested in that, but we as a scientist are interested in that, so that we can design better things. But at present coaches and athletes want more of analytic biomechanics. So this is the current trend. Okay, so ultimately this analysis will enhance your performance and decrease your injury. Now what is the classification which I have told you earlier? Now the classification is basically there are three kind of analysis we do in biomechanics. So these three kind of analysis are, first one is subjective, second is objective, and third is predictive. So subjective techniques involves qualitative analysis. Okay, and objective techniques involves quantitative, where mathematics or calculations are involved. Objective, right? And third one is predictive techniques, which involves predictions. If you do that kind of motion, if you enhance your angle to that extent, you will get this kind of increase in your performance, or this could prevent your injury. So these kind of predictions or simulations are there in the predictive techniques. So these are the three kind of analysis: subjective analysis, objective analysis, and predictive analysis. So coaches and athletes are most concerned in subjective, with addition of certain objective data like force platform data that will definitely very easily enhance their um, performance and help the coaches to design their workouts very easily. So third one is predictive one, so that is more of research part. So now we'll discuss all these three. You know all these just so that you can know what is the classification in biomechanics. So that is the idea to discuss this in this lecture. Now starting with the subjective analysis first. So what is that? So subjective techniques basically involve qualitative analysis that does not include mathematic calculations at all. So these are basically direct observation, visualization. What means that you are viewing the sport or recording it with the video and then analyzing. It involves gross. So by viewing you can get to know gross abnormalities if you are trained enough. By looking at the athlete movement, you can pinpoint, yeah, something problem is there in the range of the motion, or some angular, he's doing more of rotation, wrong rotation. So some idea you get to know by just your eye, but for the detailed analysis you have to record the video. And then the protocol for correct evaluation here involves viewing at multiple times. By repeating that video you can rewind again, play it, slow down it, so you can pinpoint the problems. You can even you are using multiple cameras, you can even look at different planes, different angles, so that you can focus on particular parts. So this is all qualitative analysis, and using software you can even measure certain angles, so that qualitatively only that this one is required and this was you are observing, so this problem. So these kind of things are come under subjective analysis. A detailed qualitative analysis describe the precise sequencing and timing of the body segment parts. So it will give you how the motion is coordinated, how what is the sequence. When you slow down, you can get to know. For example, in the gait, you so what is gait? Gait is basically a pattern of your walking or your running, which classifies your steps into different, right, stances. Like you have a swing phase, you have a stance phase. So in this way, you can classify your motion and then pinpoint at different areas, and you can analyze it later by video recording. So all these things come under subjective analysis or qualitative analysis. Now this is all about subjective. Now coming to objective analysis. So what is that? So objective analysis is the collection, measurement, evaluation of data from the activity of interest. The motion which you are analyzing or recording by qualitatively with video, then you have to quantify it, the forces responsible for that. What are the forces, what are the reaction forces, what are the angle, what are the joint impacts, which muscle is firing. All quantitative information you will study in these kind of analysis. We call it as objective analysis in the biomechanics. So sport biomechanics often quantitative study kinematic features that characterize elite performance. Kinematic involves what is the speed, what is the acceleration, what are the forces involved. So all quantitative data comes under this. So this type of analysis results in constructing a model. So when you have this kind of data, you record it, and if the player is a light player doing very good in the sports, so that creates a model kind of thing. A model is created, a set of values is recorded, that much velocity is very nice if you perform in a particular sport and it is biomechanically correct. That angle is way better for a particular motion, which will avoid injury and enhance your performance. So these parameters get recorded, and we call it as a construction of a model. A model is constructed based on these analysis, quantitative analysis, so that you can in the future compare it. The comparative analysis also there, you compare data with elite somehow to correct your parameters according to previous data. So this is one kind of objective way to make a model out of these measurements, and that will definitely help coaches and athletes to follow it, so that they can enhance their performance in a biomechanically correct way. So this all comes under objective analysis, and the instrument mainly uses force platform and all things where you can measure the different parameters. Now there is a protocol for the objective analysis, so that I'll discuss. This is the way always this kind of, you can say, pathway is followed for objective protocol. So first one, it is divided into two phases. So first phase is pre-observation stage. Pre-observation stage, by word you can see before observation, before any movement. What you do, the first step is in this segment is determination of performance goal and mechanical variables involved. So what is that? The first point is, for example, you have to decide what is your goal. For example, in particular sport, you want to increase your range of a throw. For example, in sprinting, you want to decrease your time, you want to run faster. So these kind of goals are decided first. So in the pre-observation stage, in the objective analysis, you have to pinpoint a goal, performance goal. What is your performance goal? What do you want to achieve? Okay, so that is fun. Then what are the mechanical parameters involved to achieve that particular performance? Which muscles are involved, which angles are good, so that you have to pinpoint. You have to pinpoint the variables. Okay, so this is point A. Then B, identification and selection of critical variables. So out of these mechanical variables, you have to select those variables that can actually enhance your goal. For example, in a projectile motion, you all know if you increase the angle, you can get if you decrease the angle, you can get increase in your range, right? Decreasing angle increases range if everything is so. Like that, you have to pinpoint the critical variables in the body which can actually enhance your performance. So you have to identify those critical variables. Okay, then third point is determination of acceptable range for those variables. So what is that acceptable range? So acceptable range is that is biomechanical possible without any injury. That you have to keep in mind. For example, when you are running, your hip knee alignment should be in 180 degree. In most of the gait analysis, this is very common problem when you do gait analysis. I'm just giving an example. So when you're doing some athletes, when they are running, their hip alignment is not with their knee. They do some rotation. So it should be the angle between right from hip to your ankle, and in between you have knee. It should be 180 degree, almost straight. So some have 150, so some have 140. So what is acceptable range here is 180 degree. So it should be 180 degree. So you cannot go beyond that. If you go, you will break your leg, you will impact, you will have injury. So this is acceptable range. So I'll repeat. So you have to also keep in mind the acceptable range for the variables, that up to this amount we should work, we should not go beyond that. So if you go beyond that, that will cause injury. So in the pre-observation stage, there are three steps. First one is to, first of all, do you decide your performance goal? What is it? What is your goal which you want to achieve? Then you have to look for the mechanical parameters involved in that particular performance goal. Then in the B, second part, you have to select critical variables which will actually enhance your performance in that particular goal. And at the C point, you have to pinpoint your acceptable range of those critical parameters, because you cannot go beyond that. So this forms your pre-observation stage. Keeping in mind, then you have to develop observation plan. Then you will allow your athlete to perform that particular motion. So at the A point, you will tell the you will do the observation part. You will tell the athlete you have to perform this way, and you will allow him to do the movement, and you will analyze. In the B part, you will see the response. What is the response? When you eventually do those correct movements, you will see the response from the athlete, whether it is coming, for example, you have set the angle to 180 degree. So how athlete is coming to that particular point, you have to analyze that. So that are the responses which are given by the athlete upon your instructions. Then you have to diagnose. If athlete is not able to achieve that, you have to diagnose the problem, what he is doing wrong, what wrong forces or wrong torques he's applying, what wrong rotations he's doing, that you have to pinpoint. If you are not getting results, if you are not getting response. D, discrepancy. What is the discrepancy? Is he doing rotation more? Is he doing abduction wrong? What kind of biomechanical movement he is doing wrong that will not allow an athlete to achieve the desired target? So that you have to pinpoint. Then after identification of errors, you have to rank errors. Ranking means you have to rank which problem is the most significant there, which will actually help the athlete to achieve target. When you correct it, you have to rank it. There could be multiple problems, but you have to focus first on the more important, biomechanically more important problem, which will actually make variations, which will actually give you results. You have to rank according to that, and you have to first rate that problem which will actually enhance your performance or allow your athlete to reach target angle. Okay, and after this you have to uh, give the by focusing on those particular points, you have to suggest protocols, workout, training, drills with consulting with the coach, and then communicate error and correction strategies. So in this way you can follow objective analysis. So this is objective protocol. I hope it is clear. So in this way objective analysis is done. So this is the detailed way, uh, this is the pathway which we follow. Now the third kind of analysis is known as predictive analysis, which you all know I have discussed uh, in the previous lectures. So predictive analysis is basically simulation. So computer simulation and optimization techniques have been applied widely in studies of sports, to predict sports movement. So here we predict the movement. If you do this modification, what will happen? If you do such kind of increase in angle, what will happen? Is there any chance of injury? You will get in advance by prediction, and most of the times this prediction is very correct, very accurate. That's why these techniques are very expensive. So the mathematical modeling of anatomical characteristics, anatomical characteristics, what? Body segments measurements of human body with simulation techniques for the purpose of predicting performance achievements and developing new performance techniques. In this way, you can also invent new techniques which will actually work uh, in a biomechanically correct way, so that you can enhance your performance and decrease chances of injury. So the general aim of the work in this area is to use a computer model to predict changes which would occur in a movement as a consequence of alteration in the input parameters. So what this means, simply when you make some changes, you can try this on the model. If I plan this kind of workout, new workout, so what will be the consequences on the athlete? Will it enhance the performance or will it decrease the performance? Will it enhance the prevention of injury or will it impart injury? So all these predictions you will get in advance by using this kind of technique, and this analysis is known as predictive analysis. So answers are provided by, like, what would happen moment if this factor were changed. So these kind of questions, if you have in the mind of coach, so he will get real time answers by simulations of that particular athlete. So that I have already discussed how we do it by using markers, active markers, passive markers, markerless technology is also there. So depending upon the budget, depending upon the lab setup, you can predict these movements and plan accordingly. So this all comes under predictive analysis. So this was today's lecture about how technique and biomechanics is related to one another. So hope everything is clear, and please share your experiences. And this is it for the today's class. Thank you very much. Hope everything is fine. So please share your experiences, and if you have any question, please ask me.